mirror.
Yep, both players playing a very, very similar list. Both playing Drampa Garbodor ever since Garbodor has been printed. This deck has kind of, across all formats really, taken over, taking multiple placings at...
It just dominates.
Almost.
It dominates the format, both formats. Mm-hmm. It's just such a good card. Yeah, we want to bring you guys variety, but we also want to bring you the top tables, so... This was bound to happen.
Gotta have one Drampa Guard mirror, at least one. But, like Nicolina said, both of these players are very experienced, so even though we've seen these decks time and time again before across multiple streams, it'll definitely be a great game.
And we have the turn 1 Bridget play from Chip.
Once again, we'll see it every game, Bridget after Bridget after Bridget.
It's getting to the point where if you don't see a turn 1 Bridget, it's a bad turn 1.
Yeah, unless you've just got all your basics in your opening hand and you're dropping them all. If you're not turn 1 Bridgeting, it's probably not an ideal turn 1.
For sure. So he's going to go for 2... Wait, Trubbish?
I believe that's Trubbish Mew.
Trubbish Mew.
And one thing interesting about Drampa Garb that they get access to in the expanded format is Tool Drop Trubbish. Very, very powerful card. Says for a Psychic and a Colorless, does 20 times the amount of tool cards in play. So not only can they attack with that Trash Lance Garbodor and their Drampa, they also get access to an attack that might come up sometimes. More often than you'd think. But it definitely just adds another element of surprise to the deck.
So unlike the last round, we're pretty familiar with all these cards. Mm-hmm. We've seen these. We know what's going to happen here.
This isn't Ross and his shenanigans.
More straightforward and standard, but also tested, tried and true. The results from this deck are just undeniable. So it's obviously a smart choice, smart play for the day.
So I believe, actually, from Ryan, all we saw was a double colorless and pass.
That's unfortunate.
So it seems like Ryan might be stuck with a hand with not a whole lot of playable cards, unfortunately.
Poor
Hopefully
Ryan.
he can get out of this.
Often, this happens to him on stream. I feel like Ryan loses a lot of his stream games. I know he jokes around that he's cursed. Mm-hmm. He's got the stream curse. Because Ryan is a very decorated player. Once again, many regionals wins. Mm-hmm. I don't think any really big performances at Worlds or anything like that, but very consistent player, consistently in the top rankings.
Ryan's always normally in that 32-64 range at almost every event that he shows up to. So, and we're just going to see retreat into that Mew and a copying that Righteous Edge, deal 20 damage to that Lele, taking off that double colorless energy. So there we see just the power of Drampa. Not only that Berserk attack, but that first attack is also
Ryan
so
picks
crucial.
Up a Field Blower, another double colorless. You're going to take a knockout on this Mew.
Yep, so maybe this prize card will bring Ryan back in the game.
Could be the game changer. If we could potentially see this being knocked out by Drampa, Chip would just need a double colorless, and he's going to go for it. He knows that Ryan's hand is dead, but he thinks that the possibility of getting this knockout and ending the game here is worth the end.
Definitely, yeah. I would do the same exact thing in Chip's situation. You know, I would just want to be like, why don't I just try my hardest to steal this game 1, go into a game 2 with the game 1 behind my back.
I mean, either way, Chip is ahead on board. Even if Ryan gets to kind of play a catch-up game here, Chip's still got the advantage.
At least Ryan got the first prize. He's got that to take home. So, drawing a fresh new 6.
Let's see, double colorless, choice band. Does he? No, I don't. All right, so he does not get the cards needed to take the knockout. So I don't know quite as much about Chip. I'm not as familiar with him as I am with Ryan, but I know that Chip has his own YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. He produces a lot of Pokemon content. As far as big finishes, though, do you know?
I'm not too familiar with his results either, unfortunately.
I'm not sure if he has too many competitive results, but he does play the game a lot, and he knows what he's doing as well. Probably looking to pad that competitive resume, though.
Definitely. So we'll see what Ryan can do with this hand after he gets end. It seems like, okay, so he drew a computer search, so he definitely has something.
Already an improvement.
From
over
his
the
last
other
hand.
Yeah. I have a computer search. I can play the game.
Just
Ryan's like, yes, I'm back in it.
Just going to discard that Dimension Valley, not needed when you're playing almost a 60-card mirror against your opponent who's playing the exact same stadium, as well as a Psychic Energy. Gonna go ahead and throw that card straight into his hand. We will see what Ryan can do. Probably going to grab a supporter here, whether it's Bridget or Sycamore or Juniper, depending on what that last card in his hand is after this computer search. Ryan really just needs another Pokemon. And yep, like I said, he's just going to grab that Sycamore, draw a fresh new hand of 7. Hopefully he gets himself another basic Pokemon. And I believe that he drew his copy of Mew, so that's at least one.
Yeah, that's something. That's something for him to prolong the game in any case.
Ryan is definitely not out of this game if he can get some momentum going for sure.
That N was kind of a savior for him.
Oh, it looks like Oricorio actually was the draw, not Mew. So it's another basic, maybe not the most ideal one you want right off the bat, but Ryan will take it over nothing.
Yeah, he really just needs any other Pokemon. So.
He could get a Drampa set up, maybe Retreat to set up those damage counters on the bench.
Benching. What is that he's thinking about benching? I can't quite see it.
Show us your hand, Ryan.
Sure.
Just contemplating a play.
Okay, that's a rainbow Drampa?
Those hyper rares are so hard to tell what they are on stream here.
They're so beautiful, but very difficult to discern.
I believe that actually might be his copy of Necrozma.
Yeah, it looks like a rainbow.
Yeah, so I believe that is his copy of Necrozma GX. Fortunately, with those rainbow rares, it is kind of hard to see. It looks kind of just like a white card.
Especially Necrozma is like kind of shapeless as it. I mean, it's like a bunch of squares and
like
triangles.
A bunch of cubes, yeah.
Kind of hard to see in any case.
So I believe Ryan is debating whether he wants to just pass or not at this point, and he already has actually. So we're back on Chip's turn. He's going to play an Ultra Ball.
Thinking about discarding that rainbow, and is that an AZ?
I believe it is. Yeah, rainbow and AZ.
So that AZ can be very clutch. But if that is an AZ, I would consider picking up the Drampa. But let's see what he goes for here.
I believe we're going to see him maybe search just for his one of his Garbodor pieces, either a Trash Lance or that Garbatoxin. It would be kind of interesting to see if Chip maybe wants to set up that Garbatoxin this early to shut off that Necrozma ability so he can start chipping away at that with his Drampa.
Definitely. Well, he's going to search for a Lele to get a different supporter here.
If you guys don't know what Necrozma's ability does, it says that Necrozma GX does not take any damage from colorless specific Pokemon. So actually doesn't come up too much, but when it does, I've seen multiple times at big events and even just local events, people forget about that ability and try to swing into it with a colorless Pokemon, and they're like, oh, I totally forgot that he had that.
Whoops. It's not that. It's a strange ability. I can't think of another Pokemon that has an ability like that. That can't be damaged by any specific type.
Yeah, the specific type of Pokemon.
Yeah. But yeah, normally what Necrozma is used for is its GX attack, which is incredibly powerful. It deals 100 damage to each EX and GX on your opponent's entire board. So you can see where that could come into play as well. Could knock off this Drampa, knock out this Drampa at this point.
Make that Lele essentially a 70 HP basic Pokemon, both of them. So yeah, Necrozma's GX attack is definitely a super crucial thing that they will need in this matchup. If their opponent tends to bench more those EX and GX Pokemon. And we'll see him attach those tools to Trubbish and just Juniper, draw a fresh new hand of 7. There's that double colorless energy. And he will be able to take the knockout on this Lele this turn because it has already been hit previously by a Righteous Edge, so 170 damage. Go down to 2 prizes. It'll be interesting to see how Ryan can answer this.
He's in a tough spot for sure. No energy on the board, no relevant attacker. He's going to have to pull off something pretty pretty miraculous in order to come back here.
I would imagine what Ryan wants to see is maybe getting a Drampa set up this turn if he can with a Rainbow Energy, or start to set it up. But we're going to see a Lele. Going to grab a supporter. Looks like he's going to grab Teammates. I believe that's the card that he pulled to the top.
I think it is. Teammates is a good option here, as well as N. I'm not sure what the size of Chip's hand is, but I mean, Ryan's getting the card advantage from N at this point. So he is going to go for the Teammates, though. That will allow him to choose any 2 cards.
He's going to go ahead and put those cards in his hand.
Pretty fast selection, but we did not get to see what he
I believe
took.
one of the cards that he grabbed was a double Colorless Energy. Ryan might be trying to go for a Black Ray GX this turn. It costs 1 less with that Dimension Valley in place, so he only needs a double Colorless Energy to get that off. And, yep, seems like that might be what he's going for. With that Choice Band, he will be able to knock out the Drampa GX in the active.
That's pretty big. That is a pretty big play.
So knock that Drampa out, put 100 on each of those Tapu Leles, making them just 70 HP. So that's going to be something that Chip is going to have to take into account, because Ryan's only down to 3 prizes. And it seems like from an arguably unwinnable game from earlier, but we talked about how Chip had to just go for game when he thought he could hit it. Unfortunately, things didn't end up his way, and now Ryan's back in the game.
Yeah, Ryan definitely has the potential to make this comeback. It seemed like Chip was ahead on board. He had a lot more setup, a lot more going on his field, and whereas Ryan just kind of had one attacker, one bench. But he's managed to turn that limited amount into something that's a strategy that's really working for him. That GX attack was just incredibly powerful to swing the game.
Most definitely. So we're seeing an Ultra Ball from Chip. Probably going to grab, that Trash Lance Garbodor. Go ahead and evolve that one on his bench with the Choice Band attached to it. I'm going to see a Computer Search.
Get rid of that Mimikyu, kind of making the decision that he's not going to be using that in this matchup. Again, the item counts are relevant here, but we're not too sure. I think maybe going forward we should probably ask the players to keep track of that.
I saw that Ryan was kind of setting aside the item cards in his deck earlier. I don't know if they've kept to it. But we'll see a
It's
Psychic
tough.
Energy.
They have a lot going on with trying to keep track of their hand and the game state, and their strategy to change a die every time you discard an item is a little difficult to do.
I'm not sure Ryan has played too many items, but I'm almost certain that with that Choice Band on the Garbodor, Ryan has played enough items to where this Necrozma is going to go down to that Trash Lance at the end of this turn. So Chip definitely has a play to respond to Ryan's Black Ray GX.
That would leave Ryan with not very much going on at all. A 3-card hand, or 4-card hand when he draws, and 2 Pokemon he does not really want to attack with.
No, most certainly not. Tapu Lele not going to take out that Trash Lance Garbodor. He needs something like a Drampa or even his own Trash Lance, and Garbotoxin coming down this turn as well, so that shuts off any abilities that Ryan might need to use in the following turn. So
Not even a Trubbish set up to evolve for Ryan.
yeah, Ryan is in a tough spot here.
See, this is where even though Ryan did take an early prize lead, Chip's board state is rewarding him here. Having had the ability in the early game to set up multiple attackers. That way he can easily choose who he wants to promote.
Ryan checking Chip's discard pile, just making sure that whatever play he makes, he's covering his ins and outs that he knows about at least. Obviously can't predict what's in Chip's hand, but he kind of just has to play with his eyes blind at this point.
Definitely seems like this game is in Chip's favor, but we can't count out Ryan just yet. I mean, those Leles are heavily damaged on the bench.
Yeah, just 70 HP left on those Leles, so not too much, and I am almost 1,000% sure that Chip has played enough items to where a Trash Lance could take those out, but like you said, we don't even have a Trubbish on the bench for Ryan, so it's not like that's coming down this turn, and Chip's only at 2 prizes left, so even if Ryan were to leave that Oricorio up active, he would still be sending Chip down to 1 prize. Don't want to count Ryan out, but it is definitely not looking in his favor at this point.
No, I think his best option here is... Oh, boy. Yeah, we don't know the item count, but he wants to promote... I don't think he's going to be able to take a knockout this turn, so he either has to stall using Guzma or somehow bring out a one-prize attacker like Mew, possibly.
I'm trying to just run it through my head to see if there's any way that Ryan can take down this Trash Lance. I was actually just checking to see if he ran any copies of Muscle Band in his deck, because I believe he could Tool Drop for the knockout if he had those.
Yeah, Choice Band is just usually always preferred over Muscle Band. It's just that extra 10 damage.
Yeah, that extra 10 damage does add up perfectly sometimes in a lot of matchups, but only works on those GX Pokemon, not the little guys who are just the one prizers.
Makes the map so good though. You just have to play it.
So Ryan taking his time with his teammates, making sure he grabs the 2 cards that are going to keep him in the best position that he needs to be in. So
Teammates and N are both such good come-from-behind cards. I really like that about them. Like, Bridget gives you a super strong early game, but if you do happen to fall behind, you still have those cards to rely on.
Oh, 100%. Teammates is one of those cards that's always been one of my favorites. It's just, it catches your opponent off guard so much, and especially with Tapu Lele being a card now, it's so much more powerful. And I feel like a lot more people are starting to just throw one copy in their deck because it's so worth it. I believe our first 3 matches all had people playing Teammates in their decks, so it's definitely showing up in a lot more decks than it used to.
Right, it used to be kind of only a Night March thing.
Oh, so we're actually just going to see Ryan leaving that Oricorio active, able to use his attack for free with Dimension Valley out. He's going to knock out that Trubbish on the bench, putting himself down to 2 prizes, leaving the Oricorio active, forcing Chip to have some sort of card to bring his Tapu Lele up from the bench, which is his only 2 prizer left on the field.
This also puts Ryan at 2 prizes as well, giving him the opportunity to be able to take one of those Leles out for game.
We're going to see a Getsus. Oh, so that Getsus was actually not good at all for Ryan, taking 3 cards out of his hand.
And one of them an Ultra Ball to get him a Tapu Lele.
Or even a Garbatoxin if you happen to draw that energy that he needs. So that's going to leave Ryan with a 1-card hand, which is literally unplayable, as we saw that it is the Dimension Valley, which is already in play. So Ryan is literally top-decking at this point. His next card is, in fact, the only card he will be able to play next turn. So
what is the 1 card left in his hand?
Dimension Valley.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Chip already has that other one over there, so he won't even be able to play it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like you were saying, we're just really seeing Chip take advantage of the fact that he's had so much more setup throughout this whole game over Ryan. Ryan just now benching his first few Trubbishes of the game. So you're going to see another Ultra Ball. Wouldn't be too surprised to see that Trash Lance come down on the bench.
Pretty much cutting off Trubbish. Ryan's outs at that point, because now...
Or the Mew.
Does he already have Toxin out? I believe he does.
Yep, he does on a bench with a Float Stone.
So he could be getting a...
So we're going to get Mew, actually.
I like that. Both players really playing to their outs, which is amazing to watch. It's kind of crazy how Ryan turned this game that looks so terrible for him in the beginning around so that he actually has a chance.
And that's why we made the point earlier, even though these players are playing what we've seen so many times on stream before at multiple events for the past couple months, really ever since that Trash Lance card was printed, is just this Tramp Guard deck. But this is where you really see, their difference in play skill as opposed to other players that you might watch. So
they're definitely playing at the highest level.
Definitely 2 Tier 1 players.
And this is a nail-biter of a game right now. It's just so close in this prize race.
And this is a tough choice for Ryan, too, because, like we talked about earlier, that only card left in his hand is Dimension Valley. So whatever he promotes here, he has to make sure that it's right. It has to be the card that he needs.
It's a crucial choice. He kind of has to in a way. Okay,
and Ryan did not draw what he wanted to see, so it looks like we're just going to scoop it up and head back to Game 2.
That also feels pretty bad, though, because Ryan spent all that time trying to make that comeback, and then he could have just scooped earlier in the game when he was behind. But there was just that little glimmer of hope that he could turn it around.
Yeah, definitely an unfortunate start for Ryan, for sure. Being stuck with that dead hand, it looked like with multiple double colorless energy at the beginning. But as we saw, Ryan did try his hardest to come back. Definitely a great effort. Hopefully a better starting hand for him in the second game so we can have a closer game.
And I still really like that play from Chip in the beginning, even though the end ended up making the game potentially a lot closer. He really decided to just go for it, and that the potential reward outweighed the
aggression.
risk.
Yeah.
Yes. And yeah, he had the foresight to know that he was probably going to come out ahead in the long run anyway.
I think most players, definitely would have just said, if I draw that double colorless off this end and the game's over, then we just go straight to a game 2. I think that's a risk that most players would take, but unfortunately just didn't work out for him this time.
But we have another exciting Trampagard mirror.
Another exciting Trampagard mirror. We are very ready for it.
Yeah. So we wish we had all of the knowledge of everyone's deck that they're playing before we choose the match, but sometimes that's not possible for us to know what every player is playing. And sometimes we end up with things like this, the Trampagard mirror.
But we have to watch at least one Trampagard mirror, and we'll see another one.
And at least it's close. At least it's close between the two of them. It's funny, they're playing very, very similar lists.
Yeah, we were actually checking before over their list before the match so that we could familiarize ourselves, and we were like, are they playing the same 60 cards?
It's pretty close. Yeah, I'm still not 100% positive because I didn't really have time to
few separate tech cards here and there from both players.
Nothing
but
game-breaking, though.
It's Trampagard.
Yeah. There's pretty much a list, and that's the correct list for it. Doesn't seem like too much variation is necessary.
But it looks like both players are shuffled up and ready to go for game 2, so we will cut right back to the action.
We'll probably see Ryan choose to go first here. I would imagine. It gives you the first evolve into Garbodor.
And it looks like already a better hand from Ryan. It looks like he did start that Necrozma GX. Not his most optimal start, but a Lele.
Rainbow Blob.
And he's getting that Bridget, so like we've seen all day since early this morning, we're going to see a turn 1 Bridget.
The plays.
Looks like we are going to grab Mew, Trubbish.
Yep, that's a Mew double Trubbish for sure.
Ryan just double checking over this search to make sure that those are the Pokemon that he wants to grab.
He's going pretty fast, not taking too much time to do his initial deck search because he knows he's behind. He needs to come back and win 2 games.
Yeah, Ryan's definitely going to. Yeah, he's definitely going to have to play at a faster pace than he wants to this game. He would ideally like to, like you said, avoid that tie. Wants to take the win going into the next round. Yeah, definitely can't afford to play any slow at all.
But Chip has the luxury of taking a lot more time. Right?
Chip can take as much time as he needs in this game. He knows he already has that game 1 behind him, just has to win a game 2, and he knows his opponent is going to be rushing through this game 2 as he needs to get into that third one, trying to avoid the tie.
He's going to go for a Colress for 5. Not the highest return we can see out of Colress, but still respectable. Basically, it's a Shauna, right?
And funny enough, actually, with that Dimension Valley in play, that Tool Drop Trubbish is going to be able to attack this turn for 20 damage with the Choice Band, so making it 50, hitting for 100 weakness on that Necrozma. Turn 1 with just a Trubbish. So we're really just seeing the power that Trampagard gets when it comes to the expanded format. Something as simple as your first evolution can hit for crazy numbers.
What if he gets more tools? We're going to see even more damage.
We're going to see a one-shot?
Yeah, we're going to literally see a knockout.
Turn 1 knockout tool drop Trubbish.
Wow. He's doing some math in his head here. If he doesn't have the one shot, it's probably not worth playing down all the tools. He's just going to take the 2-hit knockout.
Put 100 damage on that Necrozma and pass his turn.
Good. He doesn't have too much on his bench, though. Now we have kind of the reverse situation where Ryan's field is much more set up.
Yeah, Ryan definitely had a great start this game, grabbing both those Trubbishes and that Mew. The Necrozma start, probably the only downfall to Ryan's start, but definitely not bad at all. We're going to play a Field Blower, getting rid of the tool and that Dimension Valley, playing his own Dimension Valley to take a card out of his hand.
He needs to retreat this. He really wants to retreat this. Floatstone is going to be his only way.
Already playing that Sycamore, so Acerola and AZ offline for the remainder of this turn.
Did he find the Floatstone, or is this Necrozma just going to go down right off the bat here and kind of give Chip 2 free prizes?
No, Necrozma, don't go down.
And that also kind of cuts off the possibility of Black Ray for Ryan. Although he can rescue structure it later in the game, it's just going to make it a little bit more difficult for him to utilize that GX attack. And he decides it's worth investing the double colorless to retreat, which I definitely agree with that play.
And I wonder if we're going to see an energy drive this turn, or maybe he wants to use that Black Ray GX to put 100 on that Drampa right now. So he can copy that attack with a Mew.
He can take the knockout on this Trubbish, right?
I believe so.
Trubbish have 60 or 70.
It's one of the numbers. I believe it is 70
It is one of those
HP.
numbers. If it's 60, it's not really knocking it out.
And yep, we're just going to see that Black Ray GX from Ryan.
Yeah, so that means he did not have the knockout there.
Just throwing 100 onto that Drampa.
And it does have 70, so he would just be 10 short of that knockout because
Not quite
Lele's
worth hitting that
attack
Trubbish with the
does not
Lele
take into
attack.
account weakness.
Having to use that DCE, preventing Ryan from getting a Psychic attachment this turn, unfortunately.
Awkward, really awkward. That was super awkward. The use of that GX attack so early. That Drampa can just, he can just use Acerola, pick that back up, make that GX attack virtually useless, if he has time for that.
I think it's worth it. Ryan might have a way to maybe deal with that Drampa in the following turn if Chip doesn't have a way to get all that damage off of his Drampa.
It's definitely the best play with the options available, for sure. Just sad that the damage with that Mew math was so awkward on that Trubbish.
So we'll see an Ultra Ball from Chip, discarding a Field Blower and what looks like a Teammates.
Yep,
I believe.
it's a Field Blower and a Teammates. Giving him the Teammates in the discard for easy access is definitely a very good play. It's just a VS Seeker away after a knockout.
That is a card I miss in the standard format so
VS
much.
Seeker?
VS Seeker.
I'm happy it's gone, honestly.
I just think the card provides a lot of consistency for the game, but I definitely see why people view it in a different way.
Yeah.
Too much consistency. There's always that, I'll end my opponent to 1 and they won't get it. Oh,
Get
VS Seeker.
VS Seeker for Guzma, for Lysander, for Sycamore. I think that VS Seeker really rewards good starts too much because it does make it harder for a comeback potential because, like you said, there's just so many more outs in their deck to what they need to a supporter in the end game.
So we're actually going to see Chip just Ultra Ball, get a Tool Drop Trubbish, attach a Choice Band to his active Trubbish, Lysander up that Necrozma, and take 2 prizes with just a Trubbish. Just, once again, showing how powerful this deck is. See a Rainbow Energy go down onto that benched Garbodor.
The question is, what does Ryan go for here? Does he go for Guzma to take out the Drampa? Yeah, but that little Trubbish is doing a lot of work here.
Tool Drop Trubbish, definitely one of the things that makes this deck and Expanded so powerful.
MVP so far in this deck.
It's funny, it seems like in Expanded we praise all those cards that get rid of so many tools, and we're so excited for those, and this tiny Trubbish just takes advantage of having all those tools on board and deals massive amounts of damage. And especially in this mirror match, hitting for weakness. So it looks like we got a die for Ryan's items in the corner as well as Chip. I believe Chip has 3, Ryan has 2, so Trashland's not doing too much damage right now. But definitely a threat, because like I just mentioned, there is weakness involved in this matchup. So something as simple as adding a Choice Band makes it 60 damage and can still be devastating.
Significant.
So both players shuffling up for an end. Chip will go down to 4 cards in his hand. Ryan drawing a new set of 6. And I believe that Chip may have accidentally seen the 5th card on his deck. The judge is just going to show that to Ryan real quick as it was accidentally revealed and put it right back on top. So Ryan going to bench another Trubbish. And he's going to promote that Trashlands Garbodor. And he's going to go ahead and take a knockout on this Tool Drop Trubbish. Finally, that has been dealing so much damage for Chip, keeping him in this game.
Wow. Finally, that thing goes down. It took a lot, but it's finally out of the picture.
So we're going to see a Lele come down from Chip. We already know that he has discarded his teammates earlier in the game, so we don't have to worry about that coming out.
Updating that item counter, looks like we have 4 there in Chip's discard to Ryan's 2.
And Chip hesitating on his decision. I hope he didn't accidentally maybe forget that he had already dumped that teammates into the discard pile.
It must be more complicated. He must need more than 2 cards. Teammate is so good, but sometimes you do need more than just 2 cards, and you have to go for a bigger play like a Sycamore.
And there's so many different supporters in the expanded format that we could see come out of a Lele, not just your Sycamore and cards like Getsus and Colress that just so powerful. So he's actually going to grab Guzma.
Not sure what else is in his hand, so we'll see where this play leads.
I believe I saw a double colorless energy that he has in his hand. Not sure about the other cards. So he's going to play that Guzma, bring up that Mew,
quickly
and attach that DC. He's going to take a quick prize on this Mew. Probably didn't have much more in his hand and saw the Mew as a bigger threat.
It takes Ryan's energy off the board as well.
And Ryan has already used one of those double colorless energies too, so he is down 2 of those.
So Ryan has a large hand, so he has several options here.
And we're going to see Ryan just play a Guzma right back, bringing up that Trubbish, promoting his Trashlands.
Deciding not to hit into that Lele, rather to even up his prize count. Potentially allowing him to take his last 2 prizes on these last 2 EXs on the board. And Chip is going to try to force Ryan to take an extra one prize, of course. Playing the odd prize game.
Hesitating to promote his Tapu Lele GX. He's going to decide to go with that.
Seems like Chip's hand is relatively weak.
Yeah, that's why I was questioning, and another Lele coming down, but I was questioning why he grabbed that Guzma there. I guess taking the energy off, getting rid of the Mew, gets rid of less threats. The only big problem that Chip has now is he's got to face these 2 Garbodors, and even that Trubbish that's on Ryan's bench could be a threat at any point. So,
right, and whereas Chip wants to knock out this Garbodor and then an EX, Ryan is going to try to force him to knock out like 3 Garbodors or something like that.
So we're going to see a Getsus off of that Tramp. It's interesting. Today I've seen Getsus played more in the late game than I have normally. Turn 1 is normally where you would see a lot of Getsuses in past tournaments. Kind of just shows how much the game has changed and expanded. That was a play that I saw like down the tables almost every first turn. It was people just ultra balling for their Jirachis, grabbing the Getsus to try and catch their opponent.
To try to cripple them turn 1, but
so looks like just grabbing the Getsus to maybe get that Lele down on his bench as another attacker and throw it into the discard pile for when he might need it later.
I do like Getsus halfway or towards the end of the game, though, because can get those VS Seekers, like we were talking about, those pesky VS Seekers out of the hand.
Like we saw in that last game, Ryan arguably lost to that Getsus, being left with only that Dimension Valley in his hand, just got rid of all of his momentum, and it was pretty unexpected on Ryan's part. Probably wasn't expecting a Getsus to come through that late in the game with 3 of his items in hand.
That was a really good Ultra Ball for Chip because he discarded the other 2 Dimension Valley, which were going to be dead cards in his deck anyway. So he saw that opportunity to get rid of those and said, I'm going to take that. I do not want those Dimension Valley in
Let's
my
get
deck.
those in the discard pile.
Yeah.
So it looks like just an energy drive here, not even for knockout is what Chip's going to do, but it's what he has, and he'll take it over nothing. So see Ryan looking at his hand.
That would have been an important knockout if he had managed to get there.
Most definitely. It would have put Chip down to 2 prizes, really just accelerating his lead. It could take something as simple as using that Drampa potentially later on to take a 1-hit KO on a Tapu Lele.
That Trap was still sitting there with that Necrozma damage from the GX attack so long ago.
Just chilling there on the bench, but we're going to see Ryan make the same play that he made last turn, but it's going to keep Chip on his toes. Just get rid of those Trebushes so that he doesn't have the option to play one of those Trash Lane Scarborough down.
And this is interesting because Ryan's really kind of intentionally putting himself on an extra prize here. But he has apparently decided it's worth it because he's more afraid of those Trebushes evolving into Trash Land than he is afraid of, say, this damage Drampa or Tapu Lele.
Yeah, Ryan is definitely taking a slower approach at this game, but I think it's the right approach, keeping Chip from ever keeping anything on his bench unless he somehow is able to get 2 Trebushes in the same turn. But
And
finally you see that Drampa leave.
There it comes. Acerola. Wow.
Goodbye, Drampa with Necrozma damage.
Yeah. Rip Black Ray.
And we're just going to see another energy drive from Chip, so
Might
not
as
a
well.
whole lot of action
Yeah.
coming from his side.
Although that was a pretty big deal. That was a pretty good turn for Chip just to get that damaged EX off the board.
Yeah, he definitely couldn't
GX,
leave that. He definitely couldn't leave that Drampa GX on the bench for much longer. That becomes way too easy of a Lysander or Guzma win the game for Ryan.
Sitting duck there.
Thank you very much. That was
It's interesting how much it comes into play that none of the Tapus have weakness.
I know.
It's crazy.
Such a good attribute of those cards.
I remember when Tapu Bulu first came out, and I was playing Volcanion versus it, and played my whole turn expecting for my baby Volcanion to hit for weakness, and I was like, I don't understand how this deck is good. And my opponent was just like, it's not weak. I was like, all right, I
Wow.
lose.
All right then. Yeah. Also, I think it's especially relevant with Lele, the best Tapu.
Yeah.
Because Psychic is just such a type that
Dominant
weaknesses-
type almost.
Yeah,
It seems like it's taking over all
exactly.
formats.
It's always such a bummer that it's weak to other Psychic cards. It would be kind of like reminiscent of the old Mewtwo Wars.
Yeah.
My
Mewtwo,
Lele
but with
versus your
Jirachi's
Lele
ability.
with Choice Band. Like,
It's a card that I haven't seen played too much anymore, but it's probably due to the fact that you can just play Tapu Lele. Unfortunately, don't get that weakness, but having Jirachi with Arrow Ball is pretty good.
too good.
So we'll take it. So Ryan choosing to play an N. Interesting enough. Chip hasn't been doing too much, but maybe has been holding back intentionally, and Ryan just wants to say, you know what, I'll give you a new 3, and hopefully I draw some better cards that are going to keep me going faster than you're going.
Very awkward because Ryan doesn't really have a really good option to take a knockout unless he were to do it with that Drampa. But I don't think it's going to be possible for him to do that this turn.
So I believe that Chip had 5 items. Yep, so we're going to see 100 damage onto that Tapu Lele. Setting it up for a knockout next turn for Ryan.
That's where being judicious and conserving your resources really benefits you.
It's crazy the level of skill from both these players. We can see, how crazy powerful Ryan's board state looks as opposed to Chip's. But Chip's still in the race. He still has 3 prizes, just like Ryan. So this game is really still up in the air for anybody.
Yeah, Chip is not out by any means, but he is down. He's down, but he's not out.
For sure in the catch-up game, but not by too far.
Right, Ryan does have 2 damage Garbodors there.
Looks like we're going to see another Acerola,
Wow,
so
that was big too.
taking that Lele out completely.
The prize denial from Chip is an interesting strategy at this point too, because like we said, he could be playing a time game here. He won the first game. He's in no hurry to take 6 prizes. He'll take them at his own pace, and if it takes till the very end of time, then so be it.
Definitely wants to make sure that he takes his time. So it looks like maybe Chip is going to retreat into his Oricorio, and he's going to go ahead and use Oricorio's first attack for free with that Dimension Valley out to take out that Trashland Scarbador, going down to 2 prizes. We'll see how Ryan can answer. Ryan does now have that Drampa GX with the Psychic Energy on it, so just a DCE, and he's hitting 150, 180 with a Choice Band.
It's very threatening to that bench Tapu Lele.
Yeah, that Tapu Lele definitely doesn't want to come head-to-head with that Drampa.
No. That's Chip's biggest threat on the board as well, so taking that knockout would put Ryan in an amazing position.
We'll see what Ryan does. Going to take a look through Chip's discard just to see what items he's played, how many items he's played, supporters he has left, making his counts.
Oh, the tension is just so high in this game right now.
This is Drampagarb 101. It is a race to the finish.
Every decision is crucial right now. Every energy and an Acerola on that Garbodor.
Very interesting. I like that play from Ryan. Ace rolling up that Trash Lance prevents it from being knocked out from that Tapu Lele unless Chip wants to dedicate more energy to it.
In
But
which case he can counter it maybe with his own Tapu Lele, which already has an energy on it as well.
and even that Drampa with that Choice Band down now.
Commits Choice Band to Drampa. That is just, that's very threatening if you're Chip.
Benching a Trubbish as well before he uses Trash Lance to knock out that Oricorio, go down to 2 prizes. Both players at 2 prizes. Very, very high tense game.
Yeah, anything could happen. Anything could happen in this game.
So it looks like we'll see a Tapu Lele search his deck for a supporter. So many Tapu Leles now. I feel like I see at least 5 per set.
I know.
It's just such a good card.
If someone didn't really know too much about Pokemon, they would look at the games and be like, oh, it's a Tapu Lele deck.
Yeah, just play that Tapu
Another
Lele
Tapu
deck.
Lele deck.
Mono Tapu Lele. 4 Tapu Leles,
Probably wouldn't even be that bad.
4 double colorless, bunch of psychic
I was
energies,
gonna say
and we're
56
good.
energy.
And we're good. So I believe that's a float stone going down on that Tapu
Yes.
Lele on the bench. Choice Band to the active Mew. And another Tapu Lele. As soon as I say something,
Can we
they
get
just
them
keep
all on the
raining
board at
down.
once? Can we get them all on the board? I just want to see a
I
field
hope he
full of
Tapu
nothing but
Lele's for
Tapu Lele.
Skyla so he can Skyla for Ultra Ball to play Tapu Lele. I really, really hope that's the play that's coming. I need it.
Just for the memes.
I just need 4 Leles on that bench. That's all I need.
The day will be complete. We could stop the stream if that happens and go home.
4 Leles, please. But nope, that's not what's going to happen because that's a terrible play. We're going to
Yeah,
grab a
that's not
Juniper
great.
and we're going to get 7 brand new cards.
That's better. That's a better play.
Juniper discarding an N and I believe a Trash Lance Scarborough looked like. Maybe it couldn't catch it.
I did not see.
But 7 new cards, see what Chip can do with those. Benching that Trubbish. It's
They're
crazy how
still-
powerful, too, that Dimension Valley Stadium is. It just
So
makes
good in the deck.
everything so good. Every attack is 1 less, makes it so powerful. Tool Drop Trubbish for 1 energy. You can even potentially Acid Spray for 2 energy if you needed to, maybe. The Krosma's GX attack only costing a double colorless just adds so much speed to this deck.
It's definitely far better than the standard alternative Potown,
Oh yeah.
which is very underwhelming compared to Dimension Valley.
But we'll see that Rainbow Energy come down, and he's actually going to copy that Tool Drop attack to knock out Ryan's Trash Lance, and Ryan just going to be debating what he wants to promote. But this is going to put Ryan in a sticky spot, because if he doesn't have the cards he needs, Chip only has one prize remaining, so Ryan can't really sit behind any one prize wall if that was a strategy he was thinking about before.
Gosh, he just needs the DCE Choice Band, Guzma. I mean, that's a lot to ask, but...
Mm-hmm.
And that would be game.
Well, actually, I just noticed Ryan doesn't have any bench damage either.
Oh, you're right.
So he would need
You're right.
a lot more than that. So this actually is a really tough spot for Ryan.
Oh,
He doesn't
gosh.
have...
So true.
He would have
That
to have...
damage was taken off the board. He'd have to... Oh, he can't do it, actually.
Nope.
No option for him
This
to win
is not a
turn.
good spot for Ryan to be in with 2 prizes left. And like we said, that Dimension Valley just makes every attack 1 less, so Chip doesn't have to really worry about energy too much.
It's just a high-level strategy game going on right now, which is what can happen when you have this mirror.
And it looks like both players just... Ryan searching his deck, Chip looking through that discard pile.
Chip's board looked pretty empty a couple turns ago, and now he has all this going on.
It's all those Tapu
I
Leles.
know.
That was the key.
And Ryan's board's looking relatively weak in comparison.
Ryan just facing down a 1-prize attacker is really hurting him right now.
It is. I think N might be one of his best options here if he can manage it. He could attach this rainbow for the damage to set up the knockout with Drampa next turn and end. Yeah, he's got to end.
So I think what Ryan is thinking here is that if he attaches this Rainbow Energy to his Tapu Lele, he's going to be able to attack this turn, take a knockout, go down to 1 prize, and Chip will most likely promote either that Lele with the DC or the one with the Float Stone, and he's just going to hope that his opponent can't hit what he needs to take a knockout on his Lele on the following turn,
Right,
and potentially retreat into that Drampa after he's got the damage and be able to one-shot Chip's Lele.
Exactly. And he only has 6 items in discard if that counter is correct, so that's only 150 from Garb with Choice Band, and that's not enough. That's 10 short.
It is a lot to ask for, but who knows? Just like we talked about Chip in the first game, sometimes you just got to go for gold.
Huh. Yeah, he really has no way to knock this out.
So Chip with only a hand of 2. Judging by him not immediately slamming a card, I'm thinking maybe not the card he wanted immediately. So maybe this end play will end up being good for Ryan.
Ryan's got to end this game fast, though.
And, yep, just like I said before, Chip's just going to come up with that Tapu Lele and
Smacker.
just Energy Drive.
Just hit right on it.
110 damage.
A lot of damage.
Putting that Lele up to 120 damage. If Ryan has that double colorless in hand, then he's going to be able to knock out this Tapu Lele.
Which, that would be game, so I don't think he has it. Or he would probably just play it.
See a Mimikyu come down.
Good. Okay. Choice Band.
Chorus.
At least that is a brand new hand of...
7. You're going to get 7 cards. All Ryan needs is that double colorless energy.
Oh boy. There are 2 left in deck. Around 2. No. He gets a rainbow, but no double colorless.
Looks like I think Ryan missed that double colorless energy, unfortunately.
Now he has to think about retreating. But that's going to be very awkward for him as well.
We're going to see
Huh.
a
Rescue Stretcher.
Rescue Stretcher.
Is it, He's counting the tools. I don't think that's enough. Is it? Is that enough? How many tools were there?
I am not sure.
Oh.
Yeah, it looks like Chip is going to be our victor.
Yeah.
Looks like Ryan just couldn't hit what he needed,
whiffed.
unfortunately.